They twisted a pregnant woman's arm on her own lawn, just because she asked why they parked on it. Brent Wilkes and his self-appointed HOA enforcement crew acted like cops, but they were nothing more than bullies in tactical vests. But Kelsey's husband, a quiet veteran preparing for fatherhood, wasn't about to let them get away with it. Just wait until you hear the turn this story took, and how justice, in the end, came from the most unexpected place. We moved to this quiet Texas suburb for one reason: peace. After years of scraping by in the city, my wife Kelsey and I just wanted a place to breathe, raise our son, and finally build the life we talked about since college. She was 8 months pregnant, glowing with that kind of joy only mothers carry. I worked nights at a warehouse just outside town, clocking long hours, while Kelsey stayed home prepping the nursery. Every morning I came home to the scent of fresh paint, soft music from her phone, and her voice telling me about baby names and colors for the crib sheets. Then they showed up. It started small. A black pickup truck, no plates, no markings, rolled through the neighborhood slow like it was patrolling. A group of men inside, dressed like tactical wannabes. Black vests, radios clipped to their shoulders, mirrored sunglasses. They called themselves HOA enforcement, but they weren't from the Homeowners Association. We didn't even have one. They printed fake citations, measured people's grass with rulers, took pictures of mailboxes and fences. Brent Wilkes was the leader, tall, arrogant, and always holding a clipboard like it gave him some kind of power. At first, I brushed it off, figured it was some misguided neighborhood watch thing. Maybe they were bored retirees playing pretend. I told Kelsey not to stress about it. As long as they don't come on our property, I said, they're harmless. That was my mistake. I underestimated them, and I left her alone. It was a Tuesday. I was halfway through my shift when my phone buzzed. Missed calls. Then a message from our neighbor. Kelsey was taken to the ER. Those HOA guys did something. She's hurt. I dropped everything and drove straight there, hands trembling the whole way. When I walked into that hospital room, I didn't see the woman who picked baby names with me the night before. I saw someone broken. Her eyes were red, voice hoarse from crying. Her right arm was in a sling. A nurse stood by her side, trying to comfort her. She looked up at me and whispered, "They hurt me." My chest tightened. Who? Kelsey told me what happened. She heard shouting outside. The fake HOA guys were parked halfway up our lawn, stepping all over the flower beds she spent weeks planting. She walked out to ask them to move. Brent told her she was violating neighborhood code. She laughed, told them there was no such code. That's when one of them, Doug, stocky guy with a goatee, got aggressive. He told her she was resisting enforcement. She said he grabbed her by the arm and yanked it backward when she tried to step away. She fell, hit the edge of the porch, couldn't move her shoulder. And those men, grown adults pretending to be something they weren't, just got back in their truck and drove off. No apology, no help, nothing. I stood there, fists clenched, staring at the monitors beeping softly around her, watching her cradle her belly with her one good arm. I'd never felt that kind of rage before. Not the kind that makes you shout, but the kind that settles deep in your bones and burns. I couldn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room with the lights off, listening to every creak of the floorboards, running through every word, every image, every second of what she went through without me there. And that's when it hit me. If they could do that to a pregnant woman in broad daylight, in her own yard, they'd do it again. And next time, they might not stop at a shoulder. So I made a decision, not from anger, from something deeper. The duty to protect what matters. I swore they would never get close to her again. Not while I'm breathing. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I didn't make coffee. I didn't check the news or walk the dog. I drove straight to Brent Wilkes's house. He lived 3 blocks down, in one of those oversized suburban fortresses. Tall pillars, double garage, 3 American flags flying out front like he owned the country. He'd built that life on fear. Doorbell fines, fake violations, threats dressed up as community service. Folks either paid him or stayed quiet. I wasn't either of those people anymore. I knocked once, Then twice, then harder. He opened the door like he'd been waiting, arms crossed, chin raised. That smug confidence people wear when they think you won't push back. "Brent?" I said flat. He just looked at me, eyes scanning me like I was an inconvenience. Then he smiled, not kindly, but with that same arrogance he always carried around the neighborhood like a badge. "She should have respected the rules," he said. I took a breath. "There are no rules. You're not police. You're not elected. You're not even real." He leaned against the frame. "You want trouble on your lawn next? Broken windows, barking dogs all night? We know how to make noise. Don't test us." That's when something inside me clicked. I didn't shout. I didn't threaten. I just stepped forward and hit him, one clean shot to the jaw. He stumbled back into the doorframe, hand over his mouth. That smile vanished real quick. Suddenly, I wasn't alone. Doug, the same guy who twisted my wife's arm, came out from the side yard. Another man followed him, bigger, mirrored Oakley's, a baton hanging loosely from his belt, like they were ready for something. But they didn't know what I had waiting. I turned and walked to the curb, slowly, calmly. My hands didn't shake, because I knew what I was doing. I've handled worse overseas. I'm a veteran. I've stood in places where hesitation gets people hurt. This wasn't about pride. This was about drawing the line. I popped the trunk, pulled out my locked case, opened it. There it was, my Glock 19, registered, legal, clean. I held it low, controlled, like I was trained. Not to threaten, not to show off, but to make it absolutely clear. This stops now. Doug took a step forward, maybe out of habit, maybe to call my bluff. He didn't get far. Brent's voice cracked. "You sure about that?" I looked him in the eye. "You lay one more finger on my wife." I paused, let the silence speak. "And you'll find out exactly how fast this safety clicks off." He didn't say anything after that. Doug froze mid-step. The big guy shifted his weight back. No one moved. For a moment it was just wind and morning sunlight. I locked eyes with Brent one last time. "Next time, you won't get a warning." Then I got back in my car and drove home. Not a word from them after that, but I knew it wasn't over. Not yet. Men like Brent don't give up power that easy. They test limits. And I had just set mine in stone. I never wanted to hold that gun outside a range again. But there I was, standing on the curb in my quiet suburban street, facing 3 grown men who thought fear made them powerful. I wasn't afraid. Not anymore. Doug made the mistake. He stepped forward like he still had something to prove, like the badge he didn't have was enough to make him untouchable. So I did what I knew would freeze them in place. I tilted the muzzle down, and I fired. One clean shot. Not at them, not even near. Just into the earth, inches from Doug's boot. The sound cracked like a thunderclap through the cul-de-sac. And everything changed. Doug flinched hard, jumped back like the sidewalk bit him. The one in Oakley's reached for his belt, then froze. And Brent finally saw what he hadn't believed until that second. I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't posturing. I was defending my family with every ounce of focus and clarity I had. There was no rage in my eyes, just purpose. The kind that makes predators reconsider. Brent opened his mouth. I don't even know what he meant to say. Maybe an excuse. Maybe another empty threat. It didn't matter. The words never came. Doug moved first. He backed away slowly. Eyes locked on mine like I was a mirror showing him the line he should have never crossed. Then the Oakley's guy followed. Quiet now. No tough guy stance. No baton tricks. Brent stood there the longest. Something in him cracked. He looked smaller, like a man who finally realized the fear he used to control others had just turned against him. They got in their truck, slammed the door shut. The tires screeched as they peeled off, like they were running from something much bigger than me. And maybe they were. I stood there, arms heavy, heart pounding so loud I could barely hear the wind. The Glock was still in my hand, barrel warm. I lowered it, slowly, safely, like I'd done 100 times before, but never quite like this. Neighbors peeked through curtains. No one came outside. The silence was deafening. But inside that stillness was peace. For the first time in 24 hours, I could breathe. Not because the danger was gone, but because the line had been drawn. And they knew exactly where it was. That shot never touched them, but it hit something deeper. Their pride, their illusion of control, their belief that no one would push back. I didn't have to empty the magazine. I emptied the doubt, and that was enough. The knock on the door came just after sunrise. For a moment my heart sank. I thought this was it. The consequences. The price for standing my ground. A deputy stood there, broad shoulders, calm expression, but he didn't ask for my license. He didn't even step inside. Instead, he held out his phone and said quietly, "You might want to see this." The video was shaky, grainy. Footage from a neighbor's ring cam across the street. It showed everything. The fake threats, the posturing, Doug stepping forward, and me lowering my Glock after one warning shot into the dirt. No sound, but none was needed. The footage spoke volumes, and someone had already posted it online. It had gone viral overnight. Tens of thousands of shares, hundreds of thousands of views. The comments were flooding in. People weren't just watching, they were digging into who these self-declared HOA enforcers really were. What they found blew the doors open. Brent and his crew weren't just overstepping. They were running a scam, a coordinated racket. They forged fake code citations, then bullied residents into paying fines that went straight into their own pockets. Thousands of dollars over months. They'd even pulled unauthorized background checks on families, compiled files, tracked routines. We weren't just their targets, we were marks. The sheriff's department moved fast. By the end of the week, Brent's house was swarming with deputies. Inside, they found stacks of counterfeit violation notices, unregistered tactical gear, unlicensed firearms, and a thick black binder labeled, no joke, neighborhood compliance. Page after page of notes on local families, schedules, property values, even photos. Our name was in there. So was Kelsey's. The moment I read that, everything inside me went still. But not from fear, from clarity. This wasn't some misunderstanding. It was never about lawn codes or fences. It was about control, power, and greed. But they picked the wrong street, the wrong family. Brent, Doug, and the third guy, all arrested. Charges: impersonating law enforcement, assault, extortion, conspiracy. And us? Kelsey gave birth 3 weeks later. A healthy baby boy, 10 fingers, 10 toes, and eyes like his mother's. I still keep the Glock. Locked, secured, untouched. Not out of fear, not for revenge, but as a reminder. A reminder that sometimes justice doesn't wait for a court date. Sometimes it starts the moment you decide to stop being afraid. I never wanted to be a hero. I didn't go looking for a fight. I was just a husband, a soon-to-be father, and I stood my ground. Turns out, that was enough.